Hey everyone, Karen Hodovenko here. We're going to talk today about mindset, the power of the mind, and more specifically, the power of the story that you're telling. With all the negativity that's present in our world today, most of what we hear on the news and what people are talking about is creating a story in our mind or a narrative. Now that story is not only a story, it is one that we are telling ourselves and or others over and over again. When we talk about something that's happy, then we feel a feeling of happiness. And when we talk about something that creates fear, sadness, or anger, then we feel just that. We're human, which makes it really easy to get stuck in a story, a narrative that plays over in our head again and again. So what we feel is due to a chemical release in our brain, and those chemicals are released after a thought or from hearing a story. Now when this takes place, the neurons fire, and when these neurons are fired repeatedly, the story is retold, rethought, or reheard over and over again, which creates repetition of these neurons firing, known as the law of repetition. Now the neuron connections then become permanently wired. Now think about our brain acting like a highway. Then a new one's created. When the new highway is created, the cars are then directed towards that new location. So we then drive on that new roadway, and after a while we actually forget the old road. Now the old roads are still there, however, they become overgrown with weeds and grass, or the asphalt is no longer drivable because there's little traffic going on that road. And over time, if not used, those roads become unusable. Our brain synapses work in the same way. The law of repetition, or Hebb's rule, suggests that neurons that fire together wire together. The increased synaptic efficacy creates synaptic plasticity. To simplify this, we can modify our existing brain hardware positively or negatively based on what we're thinking or focusing on. When we can actually change our thinking, we can change our brain. Now, thoughts don't have to be true. If a thought is wired there, the neurons will do what they do naturally, and then the body will respond. The environments we're living in, the experiences we're experiencing, the outside world all offer sensory data to our head. Our mind is like a broadcasting and a receiving station. The information that we're receiving through those senses creates an internal representation or an internal picture. The picture acts like a computer program that, with a click of a button, the thought then triggers the neural circuit. With ongoing repetition and exposure, we become wired to our external environment. That means that we're reacting to past stimuli or situations. To change a narrative in our minds, we have to make a conscious decision to change the story. So what story are you telling yourself? What story are you letting others tell you? What are you accepting to be true when maybe it is not? And even if it is true, is that story creating the outcomes you're looking for? And if they're not, it's time to change them. Now, there's many examples of this in history of how changing the narrative has changed outcomes. One that comes to mind is from Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and a Holocaust survivor. And in his book, The Search of Man's Meaning, he stated that everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. Now, he chose to imagine each day while in captivity what it would be like being home, eating his mom's food, and enjoying life. Even though realistically, he knew he was the only survivor in his entire family. Regardless what was going on around him, he changed the story. And regardless of what's going around in your mind, you can change the story as well. Yes, even in the worst situation. Is it easy? No. Can it be easy? Yes, but only with repetition. So your task this week is this. What is the story or affirmation you're going to tell yourself? I want you to create it and then repeat it often. It might be things like I'm healthy, I'm strong, I am, whatever. Fill in the blank. Create the story for you. And continue with last week's task, that team mantra. Remember, what you think about, you will create. If what you're thinking about is not creating the life you want, it's time to change the story and the narrative. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.